it's a great honor to be deep in Florida, the Florida Everglades, to open America's newest migrant detention center. It's known as Alligator Alcatraz, which is very appropriate. But very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation. And you look at it, it's incredible. The incredible thing is picking the site, because the site was one of the most natural sites. It might be as good as the real Alcatraz site. You know, it could be. Well, that's a spooky one too, isn't it?
This facility here is a fantastic representation of what can happen when all of government works together and when it's accountable to the taxpayers and to the citizens that live here. President Trump is upholding freedom by what he is doing. The freedom to live safely in this country and to do things legally and to have justice. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home, and while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country. And they shouldn't be walking the streets with our children.
When President Trump came into office on January 20th, the United States had endured the largest wave of illegal immigration in human history. Not just American history, human history. For individuals who don't work in this space, to have 0 successful illegal entries in an entire month should be an impossible achievement. There's a 2,000-mile border with one of the poorest countries in the world, and you have open travel from 150 countries into Central America and South America. There are 2 billion people in the world that would economically benefit from illegally coming to the United States.
Last year, 15% of all the hotel rooms in New York City were used to house illegal aliens. Likewise, one of the city's largest hospital system is drowning in unpaid medical bills, unpaid in the billions, after their emergency rooms were flooded with tens of thousands of illegals, leading to the closure of critical services, and they can't even keep them open for American patients. The American patients were treated worse than any illegal immigrant.
How many more facilities like this do you feel that the country needs in order to enact your agenda of mass deportations?
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zoran Mandami, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zoran Mandami.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Thank you very much. They've done a fantastic job. Even the microphone works well. That's good. Wow. Well, I'd like to just thank everybody for the incredible job they've done. I love the state. As you know, Ron and I have had a really great relationship for a long time. We had a little off period for a couple of days, but it didn't last long. It didn't last long, and a lot of respect for each other. And it's a great honor to be deep in Florida, the Florida Everglades, to open America's newest migrant detention center. It's incredibly built, and you're seeing that yourself. That's why I said, let the press join us on our walk so they can see what's happening. It's known as Alligator Alcatraz, which is very appropriate because I looked outside and that's not a place I want to go hiking anytime soon. But very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation. And a lot of these people are self-deporting back to their country where they came from. Quite a few. We're amazed at actually the number. With the help of those incredible Border Patrol agents, we now have the lowest level of daily border crossings ever recorded. As you know, last month, the month of May, just got released 2 days ago, the number of illegal aliens into the United States was zero. But there's still much work to do. In the 4 years before I took office, Joe Biden allowed 21 million people, that's a minimum, I think it was much higher than that, illegal aliens to invade our country. He invaded our country just like a military would invade. It's tougher because they don't wear uniforms. You don't know who they are. This enormous country-destroying invasion has swamped communities nationwide with massive crime, crippling costs, and burdens far beyond what any nation could withstand. No nation could withstand what we did. And we're in the process of doing it, but we have some great people doing it now, and you see them up here with me. But it's, I'd call it like an unforced error. Last year, 15% of all the hotel rooms in New York City were used to house illegal aliens at costs that they never got for luxury. They never got this much for luxury people coming in from the wealthiest places on earth. They made more money with the illegal immigrants, with many rooms costing more than $300 a night, 6 times the rent of a typical American family. In Denver, Colorado, the city was forced to cut $10 million from its police and fire department budget as part of a $90 million plan to house illegal aliens. And it's a population that's growing and growing and destroying Denver and growing. And again, it's destroying Denver. And it's destroying many other cities too. Likewise, one of the city's largest hospital system is drowning in unpaid medical bills, unpaid in the billions, after their emergency rooms were flooded with tens of thousands of illegals, leading to the closure of critical services. And these are really critical services. They can't even keep them open for American patients. The American patients were treated worse than any illegal immigrant. In Los Angeles, 1 in every 4 students in the public school system is from a household headed by an illegal, and most of them don't speak English, so they're in a school system, and they don't have interpreters, they don't have anything, they don't speak English. What a mess, what a mess. Unforced error, all these people allowed to come in. The United States is now spending $78 billion a year on translation. Okay, think of that, $78 billion a year on translation, and smaller numbers on special education programs for non-English speakers in our public schools. So $78 billion, I think that's not a mistake. In total, the average illegal alien costs American taxpayers an estimated $70,000. That's each. And we have some very bad people out there looking to do big harm. In 5 months, my administration has already arrested over 2,700 members of the murderous Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua, including a pack of these sadistic animals arrested last month with over 280 guns, and these are guns of the latest caliber. These are guns that were made over the last period of less than a year, getting brand new guns, the latest and the greatest. Every day, our brave law enforcement officers are hunting down and deporting migrant criminals who have committed heinous crimes, including more than 13,000 murderers, 11,888 to be exact, but I'd probably say the 13,000 is right also. Think of it, 11,888, and more than half of them, they committed more than one murder. Just this year, ICE agents in Miami have apprehended illegals with arrests for murder, kidnapping, rape, child sexual abuse, and arson. People of the worst order. We're getting these monsters out of the United States, out of Florida, out of all the places that they're in. And also, Secretary Noem, I'd like to say, have you say a few words. You have been unbelievable, the job you've done. You and our favorite person, Tom Homan, have done, and your whole staff, because it's a lot of people, and Tom acknowledges it all the time. He respects you so much. He respects the staff that you both built. And you're really doing one of the great jobs. And it was great that you could work with Ron in Florida so well, built such a great facility. So please say a few words. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to thank you for putting the safety and the security of the American people first, and the way that you never lose focus on making sure that America stays our priority and that the families that live here get the chance to grow up and to raise their children in communities that are safe and that give them an opportunity to pursue the American dream. This facility here is a fantastic representation of what can happen when all of government works together and when it's accountable to the taxpayers and to the citizens that live here. We also recognize that as we've been doing that and returning people back to their home countries, that we need detention facilities. We need beds to put them in place so that they can have their due process before they return home. And this facility is exactly what I want every single governor in this country to consider doing with us. And in 8 days, this facility has been stood up. And I want everybody to recognize that detention facilities that ICE adheres to is a higher standard than is required at state levels, at local Department of Corrections facilities, sheriff's offices. This is a state-of-the-art facility, air-conditioned, isolated though for security purposes, which is very helpful. And I appreciate so many people being willing to work together to make a project like this happen. Right here on this location, we'll have about 3,000 beds. Other location will have another 2,000 beds that will allow us to bring individuals across the country that we are bringing in and incarcerating for violating our laws and immediately get them out of the country as soon as we possibly can. It's exactly what we need to be perpetuating in other states. And what I would say is, I want all of you to notice these flyers that we've got, is that everybody who sees these flyers or anybody who sees these news clips should know you can still go home on your own. You can self-deport. If you go on the CBP Home app and go home now, you will get the chance to come back to the United States legally. You will get the chance to come back and do it the right way. If you don't, you may end up here. And you may end up here and being processed, deported out of this country, and never get the chance to come back. That is the consequences of breaking the law in the United States of America. Listen, our job is to uphold the law. This is a country of laws. We have a border now, and because we have a president that cares and recognizes that we need to be a nation of borders and a nation that upholds the law. If you break the law, there's consequences. We will deport you, and you will never get to be a United States citizen. You'll never even get to come back here and work and to pursue the American dream. But if you decide you want to go home now, go home. And we'll help facilitate it. We'll buy your plane ticket. We'll get you there. And I just want to end, Mr. President, by thanking our law enforcement officers, by thanking our ICE officers and our Border Patrol officers for what they do every day. They are out on the streets, and violence against them has increased over 500% since Trump has gone back into the White House, because he's upholding the law and because a bunch of liberals, socialists, and Marxists are out there lying about what President Trump is doing. President Trump is upholding freedom by what he is doing. The freedom to live safely in this country and to do things legally and to have justice. And because those liberals, and I'm calling out you, CNN, I'm calling you out because you lie every single day about what these operations are. We are going after murderers and rapists and traffickers and drug dealers and getting them off the streets and getting them out of this country because Joe Biden let the worst of the worst come in here. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home, and while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country because they are so deranged they don't belong here. And they shouldn't be walking the streets with our children. So thank you to all of our law enforcement officers, those in our military that have been helping, our National Guard. Thank you to Governor DeSantis for stepping up and being an example to other governors. I hope my phone rings off the hook from governors calling and saying, how can we do what Florida just did? And Mr. President, thank you for Stephen Miller. I just want to thank you for him. This guy calls me night and day and tells me all of his wise advice and wisdom, but he's a rock star because he loves this country and he's passionate about making sure that nobody is prioritized over an American citizen. We love everybody. We do. We love everybody.
Not everybody.
Well,
a lot of people.
But
Not
we shouldn't be putting people illegally above citizens. So, Mr. President, you surround yourself with great people. And I think that's because everybody wants to work for the greatest president that the United States has ever had, and that's President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you
very
much,
sir.
Christy. That's
Thank
so
you for
nice.
your.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I have to say that, you know, when Christie's name was put before me by Tom Homan, by the way, because I wanted him for the border, and somehow I thought that was going to be good in that sort, but he didn't want the upper job, and I said, who do you recommend? Kristi Noem. I said, oh, are you kidding? She's great, but she's such a fine, elegant person. He said, sir, she's tough as hell. I said, are you sure? You are tough as hell, I tell you, and and that you do it in a very nice way. But you are, if you ever saw her ride a horse, she rides a horse like she should be in the rodeo. She's like an unbelievable horse person, and you've done a fantastic job. And Steve Miller would even agree to that. And he likes nobody, by the way. I don't think he likes anybody. Steve, would you like to say something? Our star.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say on a personal note, getting to watch what you've done over the last 5 months to deliver on a 50-year hope and dream of the American people to secure the border. When President Trump came into office on January 20th, the United States had endured the largest wave of illegal immigration in human history. Not just American history, human history. And within just a few days, President Trump, through his strength, leadership, diplomacy, and vision, achieved the most secure border anyone in the world has ever seen. When we recently went overseas to the NATO summit, I had senior staff in foreign governments come up to me and ask me how he achieved the Trump miracle on his border and could that be replicated in their countries. For individuals who don't work in this space, to have 0 successful illegal entries in an entire month should be an impossible achievement. There's a 2,000-mile border with one of the poorest countries in the world, and you have open travel from 150 countries into Central America and South America. There are 2 billion people in the world that would economically benefit from illegally coming to the United States. And through the deployment of the military, through the deployment of novel legal and diplomatic tools, through the building of physical infrastructure, through the empowering of ICE and Border Patrol, and the entire federal law enforcement apparatus, President Trump achieved absolute border security. And now, once this legislation is passed, he will be able to make that with those resources permanent. Watching what you've done, sir, has been one of the honors of a lifetime. I'm proud to be able to play any role in it. And what President Trump is going to achieve next with the resources in this bill will make America safer, stronger, freer, more sovereign, and more prosperous than it has ever been before. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Do you want to take a few questions, Ron? We'll take a few questions from these. Yeah, please, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given the likelihood of the One Big Beautiful Bill passing, and we look forward to the success of this facility here, how many more facilities like this do you feel that the country needs in order to enact your agenda of mass deportations?
Well, I think we'd like to see them in many states, really, many states. This one, I know Ron's doing a second one, at least a second one, and probably a couple of more. And, you know, at some point, they might morph into a system where you're going to keep it for a long time. You know, it's not that far away from jails that take years to build, and money is spent and wasted, and, you know, in a short period of time, Ron, James, and some of the people that really worked on it along with our people, they did this in less than a week. And you look at it, it's incredible. The incredible thing is picking the site, because the site was one of the most natural sites. It might be as good as the real Alcatraz site. You know, it could be. Well, that's a spooky one too, isn't it? That's a tough site. But so I think it could last as long as they want to have it. I mean, you may morph this into, you know, your prison system, frankly, which I know you always need, unfortunately. I'd like to say, you know, a little controversial, but I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error. It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen, and it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time, people that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them, people that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, you know, we forget about them. We had some bad accidents in New York, and they're not accidents. They were done very much on purpose. People being pushed into a subway just before it arrives, going 40 miles an hour. And they're 10 feet away from where the thing is, you get pushed right into the face of the subway train, get whacked and killed. And these are sick people. I'd like to get them out of here, too. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you and the Secretary have both said that many people have self-deported since you came back into office.
Yeah.
How many is many, and has the rate gone up? How do you see the tempo of that moving forward
Sure.
going on?
We have had several 100,000, but also we have many that have self-deported, not even using the CBP Home app. When I have gone to these other countries to negotiate security agreements and information sharing on criminals, who's coming and going into their countries, they report that hundreds of thousands have come home that weren't on our radar, that they are coming home on their own and self-deporting because they want the chance to be able to go back to America someday. So we believe it's over 1 million, possibly more than that. I'm asking all of those countries for their information on what they have of individuals that may have returned home, that they have taking advantage of their programs to help them become a part of their civilization again too. So we know it's over 1 million, but we have to, I'm getting more information and that number will grow.
If they don't leave, they never get the chance to come back. If we have to take them out, and we will, they'll go out, but they never get a chance to come back. The other way, we actually make it a little bit easier for them to come back. Okay? Thank you. Good question. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, how do you respond to critics who fear that a 3,000-bed detention center and the waste that that could produce will pollute the surrounding federal protected land, including land that both administrations have invested billions of dollars in restoring?
Well, I was one of those that invested billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars right here in the Meadowlands, but in the Everglades, and the Meadowlands too in New York. If you look at what we did up there, speaking of the Meadowlands, a lot of places like this, but this is a very unique one. One thing I'll say about this land, we'll be gone 1 million years and this land is still going to be here. It's not going to be much different. You'll have the water moccasins, you'll have the alligators. You may not have people, but you're going to have all those animals. They're going to be around, and you got plenty of them out here. I think it was a brilliant choice, and I think almost anybody in his or her right mind would say this was a brilliant choice. I give the governor a lot of credit for using this piece of land. And in addition to that, it's on top of something that was already developed. It's an airport. You know, you have the runways, you have so it's already been developed. And frankly, it's like perfect. And you can do expansion on this site substantially without doing anything. So the people, I heard them complaining about the Everglades. There's no, I don't think you've done anything to the Everglades. I think you're just enhancing it. This was already here. How long has the airport been here?
Decades.
Many decades, yeah.
And they have, Kevin, all these guys, you know, have a waste plan, like the wastewater gets trucked out, potable water gets, literally, they have, even our DOT has put things up in case there's any seepage, which we don't. So you are literally doing this on concrete that's already here. So I don't think those are valid and even good faith criticisms, because it's not going to impact the Everglades at all. President's been a champion. We've been a champion, really changed the game in Florida on it. I think it's just people don't want to see illegal immigrants deported, and that's their ideology, and they have a right to that. But illegal immigration's unpopular, so they know that they're going to have less effect trying to do it. So they're going to try, oh, well, no, it's just about the Everglades. But really, I think a lot of those people, they just don't want to see illegals deported, because if you actually hear everyone's here, you obviously know there's zero land that's being disturbed.
Well, you know, when we talk about popularity, though, I will say I ran on the issue of illegals and we have to get them out. And I won 82% on that issue. So I think that they may not like certain aspects of it, but ultimately they do not want them in their country. And if this is a part of a use, but I think from an environmental standpoint, it's incredible. In fact, when we landed that very big, heavy plane today, they came out and checked it fairly. I think they want the president to be able to land on a piece of concrete that's not going to go 6 feet underground. And they checked it. They came back and they said, this thing is really solid. So it's been there a long time. It's going to be here a long time. And it was a great choice of a site. Thank you.
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zoran Mandami, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zoran Mandami.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
Because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they moved to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. We're going to look at everything, and ideally, he's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. Look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city. But you would think that a Republican would be able to win. Or you have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in. And like he was indicted the following day. And I said, that was a phony indictment. And it was a phony indictment. That was a Biden indictment. I said, don't feel bad. I got indicted 5 times. Every time you opened your mouth. That was a bad group. That was a very dangerous group, I will tell you. These were not nice people. That was the only thing they could do. They had no policy. They had no skill. They had no anything. But they were very good at that. They were vicious, vicious, horrible people. Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to just end by saying I want to thank Ron and James and all of the people that have done such a great job, all of your staff. Really fantastic work. And it really started with site selection. You can do a great job, but if you have the wrong site in real estate, you have the wrong site, you're dead. And this was a great site selection, despite what you may read in the environmental press. Good job. And this was an honor for Christy and myself and Steve and all of our people to be here. And I also appreciate the media. They've treated us very fairly. Over the last few weeks, I've been treated very nicely. And it's so unusual. I'm not used to it, but we've gotten great accolades. Brian, I want to thank you for calling out because I was waiting here because I knew the vote was taking place and I'm answering questions, right? So I want to thank you very much and say hello to our friend. And I will see a lot of you. Thank you very much. We're going to make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.